The President makes his annual address after the release of a damning report about the failures of our security structures to respond to the July violence and looting. The 154-page report into the July unrest states clearly that, to quote, they failed to do the necessary to protect life, limb and property, and that the executive carries blame too. What does the Ramaphosa administration need to do to avoid such unrest again? Well, Professor Anthoni van Nieuwkerk is based at the Wits School of Governance, where he coordinates their peace and security studies. Thank you so much for your time this morning, Prof. That report was damning and just showed out the infighting within the ruling party, the executive, and, of course, the hollowing out of the justice cluster.
Yeah, no, you're quite right. You know, I would recommend that one reads the high-level panel report that was produced in 2018 under Sydney Mufamadi's leadership, together with this report by Sandy Africa, two colleagues of mine. And I was on one of the panels. If you read these two together, you get a good idea of the weaknesses in the security sector. And even though President Ramaphosa will probably focus on economic recovery tonight in the SONA, I am sure he's going to touch on state recovery as well. And in that context, I think he will say something about the need for a new security plan. But if you dig into the details of what such a new plan should look like, and if we avoid this trap of making yet another slew of promises, then it's very clear that we need to rethink the role of intelligence in a democracy. And Frank Chikane, the Reverend, just 2 minutes ago on the screen, explained that there's a difference between security for the people, which we call human security, you know, freedom from fear and freedom from want. Philosophically, that should underpin our intelligence services mandate, and not only state or regime security, protecting politicians. Protecting people is the most important. To achieve that shift and to recover lost terrain after 1994, we have to rethink our intelligence. But I want to add, it's really important also to think about the failures of SAPS, of the police, safety and security. It runs together with intelligence, and this is what the Sandy Africa report points out. And then thirdly, if your criminal justice system doesn't work, or it's slow, or it's incapacitated, then the other two reforms won't help either. And I might as well throw in the last one. If our Home Affairs is also not understanding its security role and protecting the borders and making sure that all the documentation is in place, to regulate movement and to ensure, you know, that people are safe when they take out an ID and it's not corrupted. If this combination of reform steps are done in an integrated manner over the next 12 months, we stand a good chance to avoid that very pessimistic conclusion in the Africa report of this week, which is that we are going to see another July kind of civil unrest or failed insurrection. It's important as that.
Prof, how does one actually go about fixing this as a president when you've got corrupt elements from a previous administration and loyal to a previous administration who are trying to avoid prosecution very high up still in these intelligence structures?
Yeah. So one of the themes that are emerging out of all of these reports and commissions and Zondo, etc., is that there's a fight back moment now, which some people call the RET faction. Those who previously benefited from grand corruption and state capture, many of them are still lodged in the system and needs to be dealt with, removed, prosecuted, disciplined, retired, etc. And this is the most difficult thing to do for any country that wants to reform a security sector or to recover the state from corruption. We're not alone in this. It's an international phenomenon. To do that, I would recommend that instead of asking insiders to tackle security sector reform, the president will have to rely on a body of experts and people with experience drawn from local expertise, but maybe in partnership with some international organizations. Expertise is available globally through the UN system, etc. And then tackle this in a structured manner. But it must be overseen by, how do I say this? There must be political will to appoint such a reform task team that consists of experts drawn from South Africa and further afield. And the president will have to have full trust in this reform task team, if you want. Because if he continues to rely on insiders to do this reform challenge of the security sector, we will remain stuck and we won't be able to make the reforms that the country and our society needs for protection going forward. So it's a big step. You won't announce this kind of detail in the SONA, but behind the scenes, this is the kind of balance that he will strive to search for and to appoint.
Prof, last question. The parts of the justice sector, such as the NPA, the SIU, they're underfunded. They have brought in private sector expertise, people with UN experience, for instance, in the NPA, that special prosecuting unit.
Yeah.
And those people are getting really fed up because they feel completely poleaxed and unable to do their work because of the corruption that still exists within those structures and a lack of funding. So what does the president do? Yeah, I know some of these people, they express their frustration. It's true. It shows you how difficult this task is. But let me be maybe deliberate and say, provocative and say that if Minister Mondli Gugengelo in the presidency and the National Security Advisor, Dr. Sidney Mufamadi, doesn't pull together and provide the president with that shield and with that firm determination to drive the reform of the security sector, then I think we will remain stuck. So I'm saying that there are two important politically sensitive positions that needs to integrate with the president in order to undertake further reform. And so those three men, and perhaps the appointment of a new Inspector General for Intelligence, might be able to give us that bulwark to overcome internal resistance to reform. Thank you so much, Prof. It's interesting because very few people approached for that Inspector General job actually want it. It's just such a poison chalice. Thank you so much, Professor Anthoni van Nieuwkerk, based at the Wits School of Governance. Thank you for your time this morning.